What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Two Commoners podcast. This is Sid and my co-host
Hunter's back, better than ever. Another episode 23 of the Two Commoners pod.
23.
23. Yeah, we're on a roll now.
That's pretty amazing, man.
Yep. Yo, we're almost 25.
Yeah.
Wild. Anyway.
Wild indeed, dude.
Yep, we got another special guest with us today. Her name is Briggan Harris. She happens to be my girlfriend, and I will let her introduce herself, but it's going to be a very interesting conversation today revolving a lot around education. So, Briggan, take her away.
Okay, as Hunter said, I'm Briggan Harris. I am a senior at River Falls. I'm going for TESOL, which is Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. So with that major, you can either teach immigrants in the U.S. or go to another country and teach. And for now, I'll be teaching in the U.S., but I would love to go to another country and teach.
Okay.
What else? I work at a school with kiddos, and it's fun.
There you go. Getting that experience.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I take it you really like working with kids overall.
I do. I love it, yeah.
So, what brought you to this major? What was the first day you realized, like, hey, this is something that...
What inspires you?
Sparks my interest.
Okay, well, I've always wanted to be a teacher or a librarian or something like that in schools because I just love kids. But I took a Spanish class in college, and I learned about the TESOL program there. I wasn't a TESOL major yet, for sure, but I hated the Spanish class, but I love the idea of the TESOL major where you don't even need to know the language, but that their native language, but you can teach them English with just knowing like snippets of the basics of their language. I thought that was very intriguing, so I'm learning how to do that.
So, like, when you study for tests, I find it interesting how those charts that you always had about different, like, noises that the English language has with your tongue, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And, I don't know, explain that a little bit.
Okay, so, there's this thing called the IPA, the International Phonetic Alphabet, and it is basically every single sound that exists in every single language, and we have like one for American English, there's one for British English, Canadian English, and it's all specific to the sounds we make because, as you all probably know, we sound different when we talk versus like an Australian or even like someone from the South. Like we sound different.
Yeah,
and so it's basically like transcribing the like how people speak like down to the sound.
Interesting.
It's very cool, and it makes it for older kids especially. It's harder to grasp for younger, but for older kids and adults, if you teach them that IPA, it's easier to teach them English because English words do not match the sounds always.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Why do they say English is such a difficult language to grasp?
English is actually like a hodgepodge of a bunch of different languages. So we have words that make sense, like crack. It makes sense, like all the sounds correspond with the letters. But then we have words like plaque, where if you didn't know how it was already spelled, you would maybe spell it P-L-A-C-K like crack, but it's P-L-A-Q-U-E because of influences from other languages.
Isn't it kind of just that we decided that certain linguistic rules that applied in other language applied to words in English, but we weren't consistent with how we applied those from different languages? Like we kind of picked and chose?
Yeah, we definitely did, and a lot of word like verbs, past tense verbs, like you learn it's ed, but then you learn there's like a bunch of irregularities, like I slept instead of I sleeped,
Yeah.
And that's actually because the most popular words they didn't want to standardized because we say them so often, so they're all the unique ones are our most popular words.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in this country, we often get a lot of, I guess, criticism, not just from our own citizens, but I guess we kind of get looked down upon in a way by other countries based on how our education system is ran.
Okay.
What do you think is lacking? Because one thing I noticed in research that kind of caught my eye is we have a very fast growing population. With a fast growing population, you get more kids, of course, and more kids means bigger class sizes. Bigger class sizes means less teacher to student interaction, which is very important. But how important is that? And also, what do you think else? What else do you think contributes to the problem we have in this country?
Okay. Well, I think teacher to individual student interaction is extremely important. If we were able to cater every lesson to an individual student, every single student would be successful. But we kind of have to, because of class sizes and stuff like that, we have to meet in the middle, which is why, like, Richmond had the Common Core. Somerset's kind of adopting that. But there's, like, the Common Core standards and all that stuff, and it's kind of like trying to meet in the middle, but all it does is hold advanced kids back and makes the
slower learners.
The slower learners, the less average learners. It causes all sorts of things, anxiety, whatever, and because of these large class sizes, teachers may not even notice that they're struggling, right? Other things lacking in education, I don't know. I guess I can speak to, like, so I don't learn a lot about, like, American education. I learn a lot about other countries and, you know, what we need to do here that, like, we can incorporate their culture, their class culture, like, you know, other countries. Kids don't raise hands when they have a question, so when they come here, they just speak out. We speak out, and teachers who don't know what it's like in their country think, wow, that kid is really rude, or they don't understand, like, they don't understand what's going on, and they don't, because it's not, like,
interesting.
Normal. But I know one of the best things I found out in class was that we get a lot of international students, like, especially from China and Japan, at River Falls, where I am, and they have to take a test to get here, like an English proficiency test to get here, but that's, like, their second choice. Their first choice is, like, to get into a school in Japan, but there's, like, 4 colleges there, and so, like, you're not great if you go to the U.S., but you're, like, not bad.
Okay.
Yeah. We learned about this in, like, comparative politics class.
Yeah.
Where it's kind of like Germany in a way, where Germany, you have kids thinking about what they want to do, like, really thinking about what they want to do in high school.
Yeah.
Like, you decide the trade route come, like, junior year, or the university route come the same age.
Yeah.
And from that, your high school education is catered around what you're trying to do. And I'm not necessarily as familiar with Japan, but I know that they have fewer universities because of how their high school education is catered to the people that they know want to continue their education past high school, get a bachelor's degree or whatnot.
I mean, I would also argue that as, like, in Japan, for instance, the culture of the people, like, in the schools and stuff, I mean, even going to, like, a university in the United States, there's a ton of people in the United States who go to university just for the party experience and don't even go to.
Yeah.
So
that's not what's going on in Japan.
Yeah. In fact, I heard from my friend in Canada that, like, fraternities are looked down upon there and are banned on many colleges and universities up there.
Do you think? I still think they might be kind of looked down as well here.
I mean,
maybe not to the same.
That's probably for different reasons, though. Yeah. Not because they're having fun, but because of
stereotypes.
Stereotypes probably.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I still see plenty of kids get into fraternities. Like, it's hardly a rare thing
Yeah.
around here.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And not only that, there's still like it's well known that in a lot of like richer Ivy League colleges, there's like fraternities that like sons of rich people have been going to for a while, and that goes a long way in like finding their jobs and stuff.
Yep.
So there's still a part of like I guess you could say the upper echelon of society. It's just not like that anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I think that has a little bit to do with how education is looked upon differently. Obviously, some of it has to do with structure. Do you think that something like Common Core, because you kind of described it as a one-size-fits-all sort of thing, so it's disadvantageous for certain people. Do you think it's better for them to try to develop a better version of like something like Common Core that they could apply everywhere, or if they should try catering things more specifically to different class rooms?
So I would say, and what we learn is, you start with the standard, and as you learn about your students, you kind of mold the
Okay.
class to the students. You know?
Yeah.
If you need to take more time on this, do it. You know, like it doesn't have to be the exact schedule that like you made at the beginning of the year. You know.
Yeah.
Like as long as you're paying attention to the students.
Does that make it hard though? Because all states have guidelines that are supposed to be met, and I don't know how like a southern state that has a poor education system, like Mississippi, for example, compares to New York. But when you talk about catering to that and molding your lessons around students, is it beneficial for a state with a poor education system like Mississippi to do that? Will it see benefits or?
Yes, always if you cater it to your students, but the administration and even the state probably wouldn't allow you to really cater your class to your students because there are these guidelines and these topics you have to hit by a certain time, and if that wasn't a thing, it'd be great, but it is. So yeah, it would definitely be harder, but doable.
Yeah.
So if like you let classrooms slow down to the pace of the kid, could that mean that some groups of kids they'd still be taught, they'd be taught at like maybe a slower rate and they'd be in school longer for like moving to high school, or how does that work?
I don't know.
I guess it would depend.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, that's like kind of grand scheme of things, but
Yeah.
what we learn like to do with differentiated students, like advanced students, whatever, is when we make any lesson, we make like the basic, whatever, like let's say they have an article they have to read. You give the most advanced students more questions, more in-depth questions. You give the students who are they're on track, you give them just like like what you would give the class, and then you give the students that are maybe behind a little bit less questions or maybe less in-depth questions so they can still like get the gist of what's going on. So like differentiation like within just a single class can catch everybody up to the same spot.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
So in like elementary school, when you have one teacher teaching the same class of kids, like all the different subjects, like the whole day, would it be beneficial to separate kids up in like different paces of learning and teaching them, or would that be more damaging?
And I guess it depends on like class size and like the number of kids, like where they are. Because if it's just one kid that's falling behind or just one kid that's ahead, you totally can work with them alone, you know? And so it wouldn't be beneficial to do like to split them up like that. But
I gotcha.
Yeah, so it all depends on the class, but I would say generally yes, like pairing kids at your same pace, pairing kids that like a slower learner with a faster learner, have them meet in the middle, like all that kind of stuff is good for them.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
There are, so like you said, you have aspirations to be a teacher.
Yes.
And teaching in this country is kind of competitive, but sometimes the rewards at the end of your education journey aren't necessarily enough compensation or...
Are you just telling me I'm not going to be paid a lot to be a teacher?
No.
Oh, I guess it's true.
But, I don't know. We talked about this the other day. I don't know what country it was. I think it was actually Japan.
Japan.
It was Japan. They're compensated just as much as doctors and often regarded as more prestigious occupations.
Because
Yeah.
they recognize there that teachers are shaping their kids' minds, leading them towards success.
In Canada, they pay them like what's equivalent to like $80,000 here.
Yeah.
And they have to go to school a little longer than they do in the United States. But apparently, a lot of people over there want to be teachers because you actually make a lot of money for it. So.
Oh, yeah. It's you can't be in it for the money because there's no money.
It's a deeper journey than that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But even here, you still have to go to school for quite a long. What is it like in Canada? Would it be like equivalent to like a master's degree? That's
I imagine at least, yeah.
Okay.
6 to 8. I don't really know for sure, but I imagine it's somewhere in between the two of those.
So yeah, like here, if you were to go 6 years, you would be a lot better off at finding a job. But even with like 4 years, it's just a very highly competitive field, and not necessarily enough compensation in no way.
I definitely agree. It's one of those things where, education is important, and unfortunately I think that a lot of the solutions that I've heard suggested on how to improve our education system will be as simple as like either pay teachers more or switch this one rule. Like people either say like, oh, we need something more like Common Core and to develop it more, or some people say we got to get rid of that and go a different direction. But I think like a lot of it has to do with things need to change on a lot of different levels. Paying the teachers more would help, but if you did that on its own, I don't think it would solve it. I think there's a little bit of a culture in how we look at education and the role education plays in America.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is how we get our kids excited about teaching. And I also don't think there's a lot of things that I learned in college and some of it on my own about like critical thinking and philosophy and all sorts of things that I really don't understand why they don't teach in high school.
Yeah, it's true.
So.
And yeah, back to that one point about the culture and how last episode we talked about a little bit of a generational divide that we have in this country.
Yeah.
Like how boomers, for example, viewed education. It was most likely 18 and done.
You could get away with that.
Yeah, you could get away with that then. And nowadays it's
very hard to do that.
Yeah, very hard to get a stable job with just not some sort of higher education. And whether it be associate's degree or something else.
Not only that, I feel like the gateway for higher education, like, okay, so anybody can get like a loan and like get in college that way, but let's just say it doesn't work out. You just have this mountain because of debt and stuff like that, and you just have a hard thing to pay off. Because like before, you could go to college and pay it off in a relatively short period of time back in like the 70s and the 80s.
Yeah.
And now you just can't do that. So even before, like, yeah, you owed the college a lot of money if you went and you decided it wasn't for you, but at least you could get out of it. Now it's like kind of impossible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The only way to really get out of it is if you actually complete the degree and you get your job. And I know that's like the goal and people should be encouraged to do that, but it doesn't. There's still a lot of high school dropouts. And when you encourage as many people, because more people are going to college now than ever. And when you do that, you're going to have more dropouts because you're encouraging people who don't really know any better and they're probably not cut out for that sort of thing. Because not everybody is.
No.
But.
No. Yeah. Exactly. And another thing too is like we see sort of this like hierarchy of socioeconomic education in that rural areas often have more average to lower than average education systems based on just funding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But also you see this problem with inner cities. Big urban cities with large population. You shouldn't think that funding would be a problem, but yet they do face this every day, and you have teachers that have to buy supplies off their own dime.
In all schools, that's not just
Yeah, I know,
That's
but
all
like
schools.
even compare, just
I mean,
we can make the assumption that
they have larger class sizes, and that's a problem.
Mhm.
Because I think that's really the main factor that's like, because you're like, why are inner city schools like this when they're in areas that have like more money? It's because there's a larger class size.
But we also they also account for that by creating more schools.
I mean, yeah,
Because
but
like
I'm-
Minneapolis, for example, has like what 4 high schools?
no doubt, but I guarantee if you look at the class size of each of those high schools, they're still
Yeah.
big schools. Minneapolis is a big place. 4 high schools is like not really enough even.
True.
No.
That's true. Yeah, and it's only gonna get bigger.
And you could maybe have 4 high schools if they were big schools with a large array of teachers, but I imagine they're probably understaffed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not just the number of schools or number of teachers, because like schools generally get funding based on the amount of students they have.
Yeah.
So it would make sense rural schools get less money than schools in the cities,
But why? Okay, so student-teacher ratio 12-1, which is lower than the average.
Mhm.
This is based on 2014, so it could be a lot different now. But
Yeah, I wonder how the trends would change, whether there'd be more teachers now or less.
yeah, but why do they still struggle with funding? Because you say yeah, funding's based on class sizes.
Is any of it based on standardized test scores?
it is, yes, that's the other thing it's
Probably a
based
big
on.
part of
So kids whose parents have money and they can retake tests over and over again and get tutors for these kinds of standardized tests, and whose teachers have time to teach them how to take the test instead of just trying to catch them up, they do better.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, that was 98. We'll find some more.
I mean, since IQ is like a fluid thing as you grow up, if you're better equipped with, like, if you come from a wealthy family versus a poor family, you're better off to be able to like cultivate your IQ as you grow up and as it crystallizes. Because people act like, yeah, you can't really change and improve your IQ once you're an adult for the most part. But when you're growing up, it really is a flexible thing. And I mean, I think that might be a big part of it in like the inner cities and these poor communities. A lot of these kids aren't able to live up to their full potential because they weren't raised in the best possible conditions.
Right,
Sure.
they weren't even given the option.
Yeah.
All right. So I just pulled up like total amount spent per student. Minnesota, kind of average, sitting at 12,400. Wisconsin, on the other hand, where are you? 11,500. Support services. This is what I'm interested in. Here we go. District of Columbia. Huh. Very high poverty rate.
Yeah.
Spend 19,000 per student. Very high poverty rate. If it were a state, would be the only state with a minority or ethnic group being the majority of the population.
Interesting.
Only spends not even $400,000 in sports services. So, I don't know, maybe is it just where money goes, and in these bigger cities and more urbanized states, that seems to be the problem? Because
You're just saying they're using the money like not in the correct areas?
not efficiently, yeah. That's what I would.
So like where's the money going then?
Yeah, where do you think the money's going then, bud?
Follow the money.
Follow the money. You always have to follow the money. We have a corrupt.
I mean, it's very possible. I mean, I doubt it's like a blanket problem for like every single school district, but I'm sure
Yeah.
this probably applies to some.
See, like Alaska. All right, support services per pupil. Oh, okay. Oh, that makes sense then. I guess I didn't consider that. Okay. Alaska has a very high poverty rate.
Hmm.
Spend the most money in support services.
What do they define as a support service?
Free reduced lunch, maybe?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway,
I mean,
we
is
can
something
move on.
as simple as riding a bus a support service?
Probably.
Yeah. That could be, yeah. Free reduced lunch, bus routes.
Okay.
Anyway, moving on.
Moving on.
What we got next?
I don't know. What do you got next?
Huh. Should we talk about our experience at our protest?
No.
No?
I mean, you can talk about it if you want. I don't really care. It's up to you.
What else about education do we have on our minds?
We can go back to money.
Money.
Yes.
Yeah, what about money?
Okay. Oh, I got one too. I got another.
Money in college. I would like to touch on
Ooh.
again.
Yes.
I think it's insane, absolutely insane. Where you mentioned earlier, kids of people who were in frats it's easier for them to get into the college and into the frat, right?
Yeah.
And they get like alumni scholarships and all that kind of stuff from their parents. And kids who are first generation college students, they don't get any of that. And that's just more stuff that...
Isn't there some first generation, like, student programs? Like, obviously it's a little harder because there's more people competing for those, but, like, don't programs like that exist? I thought they did.
Yeah, they definitely do, but I'm just saying these are advantages that are given to kids just because their parents went to the school.
Yeah.
And they did not, do any work for it.
Well, I mean, okay, here's the thing. Inherited advantages, like, they rub me the wrong way for the most part, because why wouldn't you? It's, like, pretty easy to look at somebody who, like, basically lucked into something and be like, God, you don't deserve where you're at. But at the same time, I feel like it's hard to erase those from hierarchy completely. I guess my main problem with the, what we're talking about specifically with frats is how unproductive being involved in a frat is. It'd be one thing if it was a little... Like, even if it's like, I'm a senator and this is my son, and I'm going to get him into college because I'm a senator and I want him to, like, go into politics. It's, like, scummy, but at least it's not, like, completely based around, oh, I was in a frat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just rubs me the wrong way. Like, a lot.
The huge scandal that happened recently with...
Oh, and those people should still, like, get in trouble. The people who are being like, oh, I'm an actress, or I'm a senator,
or not even that, just using their wealth to have someone take, what was it, Lori Loughlin?
Forge her daughter's rowing pics or whatever.
Yeah.
To say she was a student athlete.
That's kind of nuts.
And then pay someone to take a standard SAT for her.
Yeah. Do you think this is, like, there's a lot of high-level corruption at universities with letting people in?
Especially with wealthy people.
I shit you not, arguing with your sister about this, like...
Really?
This was a while ago. This was, like, school was still going on.
Yeah.
Not exactly sure how long ago, but I remember it was a little closer to when this whole scandal that we're talking about happened. And she was, like, defending schools and saying that, like... people don't just get into colleges because they had rich parents and stuff.
Oh, I remember that, yeah.
And I was, like, trying to be like, yes, the vast majority of people in these Ivy League schools are going through the right things, but you're telling me that if I had such a large amount of power that I could basically give anybody who I want to bribe anything that they would possibly want, you're telling me...
You named a building after me.
Yeah.
Better let my kid in.
Yeah, like you're telling me there isn't, like... any weak chinks in the armor.
Absolutely.
Like, it's just ridiculous.
It's basically a business. They're going to follow the money, and wherever the money...
It is a business. It's not basically a business.
I mean, everything in America essentially becomes, like, money-motivated because of capitalism. And I understand why so many people are upset with capitalism nowadays. It's kind of hard not to be completely honest. I mean, I'd probably take more on the side of capitalism than a lot of people nowadays. But because I think a lot of people don't understand that many of the products we use to do this podcast wouldn't be possible without corporations making this crap. I couldn't make a microphone on my own.
Yeah. But it has boundaries.
It does have boundaries. And I do believe in like regulations, especially for big businesses, because big businesses start to operate more like, almost more like rogue governments at a certain point than they do like people. Because the idea is that like a libertarian capitalist would believe that companies are people, and in a lot of situations they are closer to people than governments. When you think of like a small business in town, but then when you look at something like Walmart, are they closer to a person, or are they closer to like a government?
A government.
Yeah, that's like what I'm saying. So what I see a lot of and I think it makes me disgusting when I see a lot of like politicians, even people who like claim to be like free marketeers, they side more with these big corporations more than like rules to help small business. And I honestly don't think the same regulations, at least not in every regulation, should apply to big business that applies to small business. Because like then you could do things like increase minimum wage, but if you had minimum wage like in a different spot for like small business versus like a big corporation, it would like allow you to be able to push with that without somebody on the right who's attacking you with like a phony argument about, but what about small businesses? Because you can just make them play by two different sets of rules. I don't know why nobody talks about this. Maybe because it's not advantageous to anybody in power.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I just think there should be a cutoff point. Because then maybe then you have companies that don't abuse their power like the way colleges do, because it's all about making money, where it really shouldn't be about making money. Like, here's the thing, like...
Or our healthcare industry.
Yeah. Like, I'm glad that, especially for products, there's a big, like, competition for trying to make money. But there's a lot of things where I don't think the goal of the utility is for money to be made and for the economy to, like, be booming. And America makes so much money off of, like, drugs and stuff, and it's just, like, really stupid because it's inefficient and it really just... I don't know, man. It's kind of a piss off.
Yeah, you get into areas like you get into fragile areas like education and healthcare, things that impact citizens so much, and you put a price tag on something. It's very hard to regulate it, and it's going to become a competition within itself and then within other states.
Have you heard there's like, I guess you'd say, political drama within the UW system? Because they were trying to get the guy from like, the UW system needed like a new president or something. Jesse was telling me about this.
I don't know this.
Yeah, and apparently, I don't really know how it ended, but I know they got, for a while they were thinking about doing the president of like the Alaska University system, but that guy was like in trouble and like had to leave, like kind of like shamed out of his system. So then somehow the board bypassed this democratic vote and basically said we're giving it to this guy, and that everybody was pissed about it, and then they like backed off that decision, and I have no idea what the status is on that. But I just think it's interesting that any like hierarchical system with like a board, whether it be like for a company or a government or a school system, it like seems to always divert democracy for some sort of interest within the board.
We did get an email from her, the UW system president. He is very old.
Yeah, he wants to retire.
Did you watch the video? 'Cause I did not.
I did not watch the video.
I don't even know what you're talking about, but I probably got the email.
Yeah. He seems up there in age.
Well, I know he
probably
wants
to get out of there. Yeah.
Supposedly wanted to retire like earlier, but they didn't let him because it wasn't a good time. They need to replace him.
No, you can't retire. Okay. All right. Ow.
Okay.
Anything.
Be careful with the table, bro. You're
my
banging
bad.
around.
My bad. Should we talk? Oh, I got one. I forgot about it. Teachers and COVID. Online school. And then I know you have some thoughts about this.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to hear yours.
My thoughts?
Yeah, both yours.
Oh.
You can go first, Hunter.
Well, I'll try to be in my mom's perspective for a second here, because she's teaching in Maricopa County, one of the hardest hit COVID counties in the country.
That's kind of nuts.
Yeah. So, they have an option to go online.
Is she doing that?
Or teach in person. She is going to go online.
Okay.
But they also have a large school district with many different specialized schools. Like she, for example, teaches at like a specialized art and music school.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So she wanted to go online. It was originally just going to be her class. But another school from another district didn't have enough online teachers, so she got her class size bumped up from 23 to 50 kids.
Damn.
Yeah.
So she's
So
still
you're
doing
trying
that online?
you're trying to benefit these kids. And if there's one person in the world, I believe my mom could do it, but
It's gonna destroy her.
yeah. If
50
you're trying to
kids is a lot
benefit
of
these kids, but also keep our teachers sane,
Mm-hmm.
what my problem is, you had 5 months since schools shut down to come up with some feasible
Well, clearly
plan.
they thought they would be able to go back and be gone.
Yep, but like even like just in the back of your head, your last ditch effort to
Problem is I don't think there's any good solution, and that's part of the reason. Like, they were probably worth formulating a plan, but here's the thing: how do you commit to one plan that's going to piss a lot of people off?
well, your governor threatens to withhold funds for going online. That's one thing.
You mean president?
Governor of Arizona did. Governor
I mean-
has more power to do that than the president actually does.
I mean, that makes sense. I don't know. I mean,
You play a political game with students and teacher safety.
so
Yes.
here, I'm not really concerned about the kids too much, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because, like, obviously something could still happen, but overall, they're not the at-risk group.
Yeah.
I'm not super concerned about if you send kids back. Like, I imagine there'd probably still be precautions with them wearing masks. I'm not opposed to that. Do whatever with that.
Mhm.
And maybe put the desk farther apart. I think it would mostly be fine if just they like, did, like, the new precautions with social distancing. The teachers are the more at-risk group, and I believe we talked about how there's a large portion of teachers are, like, above the age, like, in the
Vulnerable area.
vulnerable age group, especially in Wisconsin. So I completely understand the need to put it online for, like, put the teachers online, maybe have the students go, or maybe have it all online.
Yep.
But, I mean, even if you have the kids go, because I feel like there's some things that might be more beneficial to have the kids go to, rather than having the whole thing online. Like, I don't know, even though it's not the best solution, I don't see it being that bad if, like, school districts hired people who were going to education and maybe were, like, students who, like, maybe wanted to be teachers and, like, had them, like,
Assist or
do stuff
not
like that.
necessarily teach.
Yeah,
but,
you
like,
you could have them sit in a room of students. Maybe it'd be a smaller room of students than normal. Make sure they do their stuff, and then you have the teacher on the screen.
Yeah.
Doing the teaching. Like, I don't know. Like,
That's a good
That's
idea.
interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just really not concerned about sending the kids. I think you can doing things like cutting down the class size, having the kids wear masks, doing all that stuff would still be helpful. But I think it would be more helpful to at least try to change the system in some way to have the kids show up at school
Yeah.
rather than having it completely online. Because I'm, like, bummed out by the fact that I have to do the majority of my classes online now.
Yeah.
And I'm worried that I won't be able to do extracurricular stuff. Honestly, it's probably worth it if I can still do that. But, like, I find it really weird that some people barely had any of their classes moved online when they're taking, like, 100 classes. And, like, I'm taking, like, 300 classes that are being moved online. And I don't know why that is. Seems weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think 300 classes with a smaller class size would be, like, relatively easy to do in, like, a spaced environment. But I don't know. I just have, like, my 2 classes that have labs are, like, my classes that are...
In person.
Yeah, I think there's supposed to be more, like, another class with labs that they just, like, ditched the labs on or something, so...
Yeah. I know when all this hit, like, they had to, my labs were all online and not very informative. Didn't really capture a lot, which is
Yeah.
a shame because, like, that class was one of the classes that I really wanted to grasp the information.
What was
Because
the class?
microbiology, because I
Okay.
use a lot of those lab techniques
Yeah.
in my post-bachelor career
For sure.
or job while I'm hopefully in my master's program.
Dude, I'm just really freaking hoping so much, man, that I'm gonna be able to go back into the rat lab, dude. I'm like super pissed that I was not able to.
This dude works with rats.
Dude, I was so pumped on it. I was like doing it for since like January. Since January started, I went in like early January and was doing that stuff over winter break, and I was doing it like ever since. And we had a grant for a project where we were going to perform like this thing called the empathy study on the rats, where you trap one rat in a tube, and you have another one where it can either free the rat or eat chocolate, and you see what it does. And you like teach it ahead of time to be able to unlock a cage, so it's not like question whether or not it can unlock the cage; it's whether or not it will.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an experiment that's been done before, so apparently they actually are sympathetic and will eat the chocolate with each of them and share it.
Yeah.
Most times, but we were gonna do other things to it, like think the rat, like put the rat that was trapped under a spotlight to make the rat more anxious about getting them out. Maybe kind of putting the rat in like a similar traumatizing situation of having it grow up like with times that it has to spend in the tube, which as like terrible as a lot of that sounds, a lot of this is like giving rats PTSD and seeing how they respond to it and seeing how that affects different ways in which they think. And then when the experiment's all said and done, we have to kill the rats in a particular way in order so we can get their brains out in a process called like a perfusion, where we drain the blood. So because if you kill it in a way where the blood doesn't drain right away, it like makes it so you can't read the brain. You have to be able to like read the brain. And when I say read the brain, you're looking at different growth off the dendrites of neurons, because if a specific brain area was used a lot, the dendrite will grow on that neuron, and you'll see that spot was being used a lot. So you can like gauge it in like spots that trigger when the rat feels anxiety, or when it feels addicted to something, or when dopamine's firing. You can basically look at the length of those dendrites and how many branches are off of them, and to estimate how often that area was used. You know what I mean? And I was getting really into that stuff. I was only doing it for a little bit, but that was like the thing that killed me the most about COVID. Because I haven't been able to do that ever since March now, man. It's crazy. I was going to do a rat surgery right before yeah, I had it scheduled for that next Thursday, and then it like didn't happen because of COVID.
Dang.
So it's like, I know I went on a tangent there, but as long as the opportunities at universities like that are opened up, I'm fine with having most of the classes online. The only reason I'm bummed out about most of the classes being online is it makes me worried that they're not going to allow activities like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, should we spend a little time on the election?
Yeah.
Like we usually do.
I mean, it's kind of what this is.
Yep.
So, yeah.
All right. So, you were a Bernie supporter.
I liked Bernie.
Yeah, you liked him a lot.
What would you say was your favorite thing about Bernie?
That he was one of the few white people that were in the civil rights movement.
Okay, that is pretty neat.
I think it's amazing. And you can't say that he lied about any of his activism stuff, you know, because there's proof that he was an advocate.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I saw a clip the other day of it was Hillary Clinton from the 2016 election when she was running against Bernie, and she was like, well, where was my opponent when I was trying to give like millions of Americans health care or something like that? And then it like cuts back to what she's talking about, and Bernie's standing right behind her, and she like mentions him like in that speech about how it wouldn't be possible without him. And like when she was running against him, she tried to act like she was doing this while he wasn't there, and it's so funny.
Yeah.
It was the real deal. He was in a lot of things.
It's really hard to bash Bernie, in my opinion.
I mean, I think there's some areas where he's a little more vulnerable on, but it's hard to bash him without being completely disingenuous about his authenticity.
So he's very consistent.
Very consistent.
And that's rare.
That is very rare. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
You see it in Joe Biden right now. Yep.
And like in general, not even in politicians, just like in general.
Mm-hmm. Joe Biden hasn't been consistent, but
settle for Biden though.
Yep.
So, I mean, I have a question, though. So, obviously, you're settling for Biden and you're probably going to vote Biden. But my question is, did you feel betrayed by the DNC the way that things went down for Bernie? Did you feel like he was kind of, like, cheated against?
Yes.
See, Hunter, like, doesn't even agree to that. Hunter thinks, like, everything was by the books and no funny business was going on. But
No, the only reason I say that is because he wasn't doing very well even before Super Tuesday.
what are you talking about? He was doing pretty good before Super Tuesday.
He lost the Iowa caucus.
Yeah, but he beat Biden in the Iowa caucus.
Oh
He
no,
lost to
I'm not
Pete.
saying
It's like
Biden was doing any better, but I'm just saying he wasn't necessarily like if you were to come back from 2016.
Plus, the Iowa caucus was sketchy as hell.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, but if you were gonna come back from 2016 and tell me Bernie was gonna run again, you'd say he would run away with it, would you not?
I mean, I thought he was going to run away with it. Everybody did.
Yeah.
It was like a
But-
coordinated move to stop him. And, like, even though it's like all is fair in politics, I suppose, it still went down that way. Like, they were trying to get him for a while. If you watch every debate, they were, like, looking for, like... they were being a little easy on him for the first couple, but that's because they thought that maybe they could get somebody like Kamala Harris or, like, Pete Buttigieg to run away with it, and then it looked like that wasn't going to happen. So then Elizabeth Warren was leading, and Bernie was, like, not really fighting back against her at all. Then she...
Drops
What were you going to say?
the sexist comment.
Well, this was actually after she started to slip a bit, because she was dealing with scandals of her own, because she said something about, obviously it was a whole Native American thing, but there was also she got fired from a job for being pregnant, and that didn't turn out to be entirely accurate. And then there was another thing about her kids not going to private school and how they went to public school, and that was only true for like 2 years with one of her kids. So it was, she basically got hit with a lot of things at once. They asked her specifically about raising taxes, and she dodged it in typical politician way, and it was like really obvious and not even like well spoken. So she basically started to slip because of a lot of that. She was still kind of in it, but Bernie was ahead of her now. And then she comes out and does that thing where CNN talks about how it got leaked the time before the debate, and then the legendary moment of. They were like, Sanders, did you say a woman couldn't win? And he said no. And then they're like, Elizabeth Warren, how did you feel when Senator Sanders said that? And then, I don't think that hurt Bernie. I think that actually helped him in a lot of ways. But they were out to get him. That's basically what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Doesn't mean it was, I don't know, how to say it, but
They freaking
Doesn't
called him
mean they
Bloomberg
cheated.
to try to take him down. They called him Bloomberg to try to take him down.
Yo, speaking of Bloomberg, where's all this money he was supposed to spend?
What do you mean?
All this money said he was going to spend millions and millions of dollars of his fortune
On
to
helping Biden?
ensure Biden wins.
I'm sure he's spending the money.
I haven't seen many ads.
For Biden?
Yeah.
I've been seeing more.
Well, not.
I mean-
I'm saying like Bloomberg company ads.
I mean, do they have to be Bloomberg company ads? What if he's just like...
Sure.
Also, like, what's the Bloomberg, like, news network? What's the coverage of Biden? If it's positive coverage, that's money, pretty much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't watch Bloomberg, and I don't think anybody does. Like, gets their news from Bloomberg. I mean...
Is it actually a news network?
Well, it's like a...
Or is it just like a
journalism
like
outlet?
website?
I don't really...
think-
I thought they had articles.
Yeah.
Do they have videos?
I don't
not even
think
sure.
they have actual
I don't know.
like a CNN news network or.
Yeah, I guess not. I mean, I'm surprised they don't just like buy like the freaking Young Turks or some shit like that.
Sure. Well, why do you feel so bad settling for Biden?
Because Bernie was amazing.
And besides, the only some of the only reasons to ever vote for Democrat, the chief reason being legalizing weed and ending the war on drugs, Biden won't even do. So like,
My only reason for voting for him right now is he's not Trump. Honestly.
Mm-hmm. And that's what Democrats need to do for 4 years. He won't He won't win a re-election.
But see, this is why a candidate like Trump is like, honestly, like so destructive. Not even just because of what he does, but because when you have somebody where it's easy to run on, I'm not this guy. You can put whoever the hell you want in there, and it's like a convincing argument.
Yeah, but yeah, this is coming from, I don't know, someone who thinks Biden has a very good chance of winning.
But he does.
Yeah.
I'm not doubting that anymore.
But if they really thought that, why Biden? You had some some less controversial figures in Mayor Pete, Andrew Yang,
Well,
who are moderates.
you can't control them as easily. It's literally just that. Why else would they put all their
Okay. Can't control.
eggs into the Biden basket?
I don't know. What does it come to though? Someone you can control or someone who can easily defeat Trump?
I mean, it's a little bit of both, obviously.
Yeah, probably. And I guess if you're thinking about that on just those two things, Biden probably was the best choice then.
I don't think Pete was a super strong candidate. Could you imagine, like, the flack that Trump would throw at Pete?
What?
I don't know. Like, just the fact that he's, like, inexperienced. All he was a mayor. Race relations is a big topic right now, and Pete was not very well liked by the black community in South Bend.
Yeah,
Not at all.
it's true.
Well, I
about
really
Yang?
hope Trump wouldn't attack anyone for their inexperience
Yeah, true.
based on his experience in government.
Yeah, now he brags about that. I'm now experienced. That's what he said. That's how he responded to Sean Hannity's
4
question.
years of experience.
I am now experienced. I know what
Yeah.
I'm doing.
I mean, sure, it doesn't make a lot of sense for him to fire back at Pete for being inexperienced, but let me put it this way. Trump was at least... So you know how, like, when they asked Hillary Clinton, or when he was debating Hillary Clinton and they talked about how she was more experienced with him, he said that was, like, bad experience. So he can, like, play off of
He
this.
can do that
like,
again.
That's
Yeah, I
probably
suppose.
true, yeah.
Yeah, and he could do that.
Do that this year.
Yeah, he could do that to Biden, and then with Pete, he could do something like this. He could say there's different types of experience. He could pivot from experience to wisdom and be like, I'm older, that means I have wisdom, and I've been around longer than Pete.
Donald
And it's
Trump.
a stupid argument, I know, to be like, oh, I've been around longer, and I know, but it works on some people.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's true.
Especially those Republican voters.
That's why
Well,
when
they're
you...
already voting for him, so they
Yeah.
don't need convincing.
Man,
I mean, it's really about, I think with Trump, he needs to focus on, because I think there's a lot of people who voted for him who probably wouldn't have normally voted for him or a Republican just because they were so polarized by last election.
true.
And he needs to win, he needs to do his best in holding on to those voters. But I think a lot of the shit he's been doing with sending troops into places is, like, not helping. Federal agents, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah.
It's not a good look for Trump. It's not
Yeah.
a good look for any president.
She his flip on mail-in ballots only in Florida.
Ooh.
Oh,
Only in Florida. You want to?
I didn't
There
know.
were over 500,000 more Democrats signed up for mail-in ballots than Republicans.
Okay.
To compare that to 2016, the difference was only 9,000, and it was actually Republicans that won.
So, are you saying mail-in ballots are banned everywhere except Florida?
No, they're not banned. No,
But
I'm saying his rhetoric about mail-in ballots being that bad,
Yeah.
I think has made some older Republicans very hesitant to even sign up for
Oh.
one.
Really?
Yeah. That's what I think the GOP is telling him, and that's why I think he flipped.
That's interesting. I mean, he's been flipping on a couple things lately because he flipped on masks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
But yeah, he's losing ballot sign-ups and ballot returns in Florida. Ballot returns by like 60,000.
mhm.
There was another state, I think it was North Carolina too, where he was losing big.
Do you think his law and order pitch is a good move? Because I don't even think it is anymore.
No.
It makes... I don't know why he doesn't pivot to the left of Biden on police reform. He could easily do it and get away with it at this point.
You can, yeah, you could. And he talks about law and order, but you've had, what is it, 15 people in his administration plead guilty to federal crimes.
Okay, well, that's... I feel like that's a little different.
Why? He surrounds him. He says it himself.
Who's draining the swamp? The
No.
swamp's got drained.
Because he hired them.
Maybe not in the way that he... Really, did these people enter politics because of Trump? Like, a lot of these people, Roger Stone, what's the other guy's name?
Flynn?
Yeah, but there's one more. I forget his name, but...
The Greek guy?
I want to say it was Devin. Is that a guy that worked with Trump?
Devin? No.
I don't freaking know. There was another dude, without a doubt, who was like...
But even
his
even if
campaign.
that, he even taxed Joe Biden because he's gonna surround himself with bad people. That was one of his messages.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of my problems is point to a politician and tell me which one of them isn't going to surround themselves with bad people.
Oh, I know, but one politician in this election has had 15 people arrested in his administration.
I mean, you're not wrong, but I also don't think that these people are completely in government because of Donald Trump. I think they would have remained there. And then you could even make the argument where if
Paul Manafort?
Okay, that's who I was thinking of, by the way, for some reason. I don't know where the name Devin came from, but I feel like Paul Manafort...
He ran his election.
Yeah. But wasn't he present, like, was that Paul Manafort's, like, on the scene?
I guess I don't know.
I don't even know if that's the case for Steve Bannon. I could maybe believe it for Steve
But
Bannon.
it doesn't matter because the crime they were charged with was lying to federal prosecutors during the Russian investigation.
I mean, isn't the crime that they were charged for a crime they committed? And it's kind of hard to...
But it's still...
Yeah, but if we're
questioned...
operating under the justice system, we can't just be like, Trump probably knew, therefore he's guilty.
No, but what Trump did was surround himself with people that would lie for him.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Law and order canceled.
But here's the other thing. Who says he even hired them because they would lie for him? We found out they would lie for him, but that's because their ass was on the line too. You don't think some of it was also, like, sure, maybe Trump could have given them the order to do something legal top down, but let's say Trump gives you a command, and you can cut a corner and do that thing easier by breaking a law. You don't think that it's their own autonomy to do so might, like, lead to them doing it? Because there's a lot, like, at stake for them, personally, too.
I'm not saying they don't have any responsibility in themselves getting arrested.
I'm saying they have more responsibility than Trump. Because these aren't just,
I
like,
have to agree,
grunts.
yeah.
These aren't just grunts. These are, like, people whose names are, like, well-known, who were high up in the campaign.
All right.
And you talk about how Trump's, like, this bumbling, useful idiot. If he's the useful idiot, who are the people pulling the strings? Probably the people getting arrested and breaking laws. That's really all I'm saying is. And this just goes back to Trump being a symptom of the system and, like, going to shit and not, like, what actually made the system go to crap.
But who put him there? Who put him in that situation?
Himself?
Who are you referring to?
I
Trump?
mean, Trump threw himself into the race, and some people thought that maybe he could do well, so they just decided to make the move of managing his campaign because they thought it might actually work, and they were right.
Well, Manafort was always his campaign manager. Like, it's not like they just jumped in as soon as he gained momentum.
I mean, yeah, but I'm saying you can still have that feeling, like, way before it starts. Like, you can look at Trump as a person and be like, maybe this guy has potential, it's a long shot, but let's do it. And clearly their, like, gamble was a little right. Like, some of these people got arrested on their way, but, like, there's plenty of people who, like, remained relatively fine, like, didn't have any legal repercussions, who basically, like, rose to a more prominent position in politics because of their involvement in the Trump campaign. Like, that's why people even know who, like, Steve Bannon is.
True. That is one example, but he's got an entirely new campaign team.
Yeah, and I think it's actually going to, not help him.
Yeah.
Well, Steve Bannon didn't even get in trouble, and he's not on the team anymore, is he? I don't think he is.
No, I don't think he is either.
And a lot of people are saying that...
Roger Stone said he would do everything in his power to help.
Yeah, but that's... I think even before he got arrested, I doubt he was even that much of an influence. Like, who freaking gives a crap about Roger Stone?
Russia.
Okay, well, Russia can't vote.
No, but you get dirt from a foreign country, give it to someone high up in the campaign.
Yeah. Who are they giving this to? So Russia gets dirt on whom?
Hillary. That's what the whole scandal was.
Russia getting... It was Hillary screwing up and people finding out about it.
What do you mean?
The whole scandal was Hillary's, like, with her emails. That's what we're talking about, right?
Oh, yeah.
The whole scandal was she screwed up with having the email server a particular way, did something that wasn't protocol, then she got caught, and then, like, that barely had anything to do with Russia. It's just Trump said, like, Russia, if you could steal some and, like, release them, that would be nice. But I don't even think that happened, bro.
You don't think that happened?
Like, I don't think, like, even if Russia found the emails, like, weren't some of the emails already released on WikiLeaks?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does Russia know that, like, everybody on WikiLeaks didn't already know?
Apparently it was pretty important to the Trump campaign.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense if you... But, like, honestly, the thing that did her in isn't even the specifics of the dirt. I think they just wanted focus to stay in the dirt. I don't think they even cared if anything got recovered. Like...
But who knows if it was just about the emails, too. They wanted help in some way in the election.
Yeah, but, like...
And then where the debate goes from there is not in my realm.
I don't know, Briggan, what do you think about Russiagate and Trump's involvement with Vladimir Putin?
I don't think he should be reelected.
Okay. do you Do you think Russia interfered with the last election?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't really think so either, to be completely. I think they probably did in the way that I imagine that they would, which is where they have Facebook accounts.
Dude,
that
the special counsel even said they interfered with our election. Yeah,
but like it's so, but what they're referring to is exactly what I'm saying. They didn't like hack into servers. They interfered in a very particular way, and to be honest, I don't even think it was that effective. Like I think Trump still would have won. I feel like it's almost a goose chase. Like, who do you think's and if that's interfering with our election, then how many big corporations in the United States are interfering with the election?
Oh, a lot, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not arguing that, yeah. I'm just saying, like, it's a foreign country that is deploying social media bots.
Are they coming straight from Vladimir Putin, though? Or are they coming from, like, Russian corporations that have, like, specific, like, lobbying groups in mind?
I don't know. Vladimir Putin is a very corrupt individual. He stuffs ballot boxes for a living.
I mean, it would make sense if he's corrupt within his own country because he cares about, like, maintaining power.
Yep.
And obviously, he has like a preference in who would become president, but I think at the end of the day, he realizes that what he needs to do isn't necessarily favor one candidate over the other. It's just make America super divided, so they focus on a lot of like the political struggles within, and it takes heat off of him. You know what I mean? If the U.S. government's fighting themselves, they're not going to deal with any of the sketchy shit he's doing. So I think a big part of it was like, oh, we're doing something, but like it's not even like real interference, and then everybody freaks the hell out of it about it, and then it makes like people not trust the election results. Like, I bet it had a sway what he did. I just don't think what he did was like, I don't even think it had it like, I think the amount of sway it had in comparison to any mainstream media outlet in the United States is like so small.
Okay.
So small.
That's fair, but we're still talking about a foreign country.
But we don't even really know if it's like from the freaking government, because it's just a corporation if it's not from the government. If it's a foreign corporation, I still don't like that. But
okay, well, they were linked to the Kremlin, which is linked to Vladimir Putin.
Everything's linked to the Kremlin.
Not true.
I mean, a lot of Russian companies are. You could find a lot of United States companies that are linked to like something in the United States government.
You can find a lot of what?
So, like, if I look at Google, for instance, it's hard to point at Google without saying it's wrapped up in, like, United States, like, government surveillance, because they have deals with the NSA, and they also have deals with China surveillance. So, I mean, like, I don't know, when you get to like big companies.
But this is, the problem is that it's a totally different country that we haven't had a good relationship in over 60 years.
True.
I don't like that you're saying that, because the United States has like selected rulers for other countries before, like
No,
in Vietnam. So I don't
absolutely.
understand, like,
Wait,
I feel like that might be,
and I'm not
little
saying
more-
that's right, but then again,
but the sway is like a little different there. How can you defend the U.S. and then not attack that?
because we've always been fighters for democracy, even though
Yeah, so that's why we
They
overthrow
communists in
it.
Vietnam.
even though, okay, now overthrowing the Vietnam ruler who did
Who was selected
Very-
democratically by votes.
I mean, this one's a complicated one because
Yeah.
you're definitely right. It was selected democratically by votes, and then we decided to overthrow them anyways. But another reason we decided to overthrow them anyways is because some of the Vietnamese who didn't like the person who was elected, they were the capital owners, and they didn't vote for him, and they were going to have all their land seized. And we had some, of course, American businessmen tied up in that, and then we had interest with it, and it like snowballed into us getting like JFK involved and rolling in, and then he was going to back out, and then he got assassinated by somebody outside of the government, supposedly. There was like a lot of reasons why he might actually have been assassinated by somebody in the government, bro. There's like a lot of reasons.
I've never
You
heard
air
that one.
quoted the assassinated, so I was like, is he not dead? But okay, I get
Yeah, I realized when I was saying that I was being a little weird with how I was structuring my words, but like, I'm gonna be real with you. I think he might have been whacked by CIA, like not confirmed. I mean,
Honestly, yeah, that's a conspiracy theory I'm willing to believe.
yeah, it's I don't know. It's just one of those things where like, obviously, I don't think I'll ever know, or anybody will.
That's true.
But I could see it because so I'm willing to admit that having motive is like not enough to like believe in something. But when I see a lot of motives that all line up, it does at the very least make me suspicious because, bro, he wanted to get rid of the Fed. He wanted to pull out of Vietnam. Yeah, and I mean, this was before the war on drugs got ramped up, but it was still going. I imagine he wouldn't have, like, ramped it up like Nixon did. I imagine he would have, like, probably dialed it back. I mean, the man was on a lot of drugs himself. JFK was.
Really? I didn't
Well,
know.
yeah, he had health problems, so he, like, took a lot of speed,
Nice.
and
Good for
that's why
That
he
adds
could...
up. That adds up.
Yeah. Took some, like, Adderall, and then he was like, my fellow Americans. And then Richard Nixon looks like an idiot next to him on stage, all sweaty. The first, like, televised debate, where Richard Nixon was picked to be the favorite. I don't know if it was the first, but it was an early one. Nixon was, Eisenhower was president at the time, I
Yep.
believe, and it was Nixon and JFK debating. And it was on the radio, and they had thought that since Nixon was a more experienced political speaker than JFK, that he would do better, but they were judging it from a radio perspective ahead of time, and on a TV perspective, Nixon didn't know how to carry himself. He wasn't expecting JFK to be as articulate and on top of things as he was, and then he looked visibly nervous and apparently was like sweating. And there's also like talk that they gave him bad advice of like, somebody gave him like bad advice on like what to eat and how to prepare for the debate or something, so Nixon was like just out of it or something.
Oh gosh.
I don't really know the specifics, but I just know he was not in very good shape visually, and they didn't like account for it.
Huh. How did we get to this point?
I don't know. I went on another one of my famous tangents, but I
Hey.
think
That's
it's
alright. It
That's
was
all right.
enjoyable.
Yeah.
we okay. So let's figure out why we were talking about JFK.
Because the CIA assassinated him.
Yeah. True. Why were we talking about JFK maybe being assassinated?
We were talking about Vietnam and
Oh, I
Right.
guess
Everything
countries'
aligned.
involvement in other
Yes,
countries'
because we were talking about Russiagate.
Yeah.
Russiagate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I just think it happens all the time, and it was like bound to happen in the U.S. if it hadn't happened already.
yeah, and I obviously
doesn't mean we have to be okay with it.
I'm not
Well,
okay
I'm
with
okay
it. But
with
what are we
it.
supposed to do about
It
it?
happened already.
What are we supposed to do about it? Do you really think it's going to give Trump the edge in the next election? Because I doubt it, bro. I doubt it.
Yeah, that's true. Who knows?
I mean, if there's a story that comes out afterwards, I guess I'll listen. But I mean, I guess at that point it'll be too late, and then you can say I told you so. And feel free to do it because I don't think I'm going to be told so. I really don't think I'm going to.
Because he's going to get destroyed.
Although I wouldn't be surprised if they went with a Russia narrative again, even if there was like nothing. Because like Rachel Maddow just stayed on that with the Steele dossier and all this other crap that turned out to be a big nothing burger.
Yeah.
I was on the side of some information would come out. Like I was like pretty on the Russiagate train. All the way up until Robert Mueller spoke for the first time in public, and then I was like, "Oh,
why?
No." Because he kind of looked like an idiot, and they asked him about fusion GPS and a bunch of things that were specific that he should have known about, and he like didn't seem to know what those even were.
A lot of it was highly classified, that couldn't be told, and he had to be very careful.
Really, like if it was highly classified and they asked him about fusion GPS, which is something that the public already knows about, and they wanted to know their significance in that, and Robert Mueller responds with, "I'm sorry, what?" Like he doesn't know what he's talking about. It like seems kind of bad. Like even if he like just physically messed up and like physically like just blundered his words a little bit, it like doesn't look good. It's about optics. It's about optics, bro.
Yeah, that's why they have those. Well. Should we wrap her up?
Yeah, I will say this though. I think Biden might win.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I'm actually willing to say that. I was pre-pandemic. I would have said that Trump was going to run away with this thing, but I don't think he's been doing very well lately.
I think.
Chris
my
Wallace
gut
destroyed him, bro.
My gut says it's going to be a runaway.
Really?
I don't know if it'll be a runaway, bro.
I don't
Maybe
think
he'll
so.
win.
Well,
but
okay. Let's go for
people don't like Biden as much as I think you think they do. They just hate Trump more.
I honestly think there could be enough Democrats that hate Biden enough to not vote for him.
That's
Or Republicans that aren't for Trump.
I know young
really-
people.
I'd only worry about young people, but I think
Yeah.
we have independents, and even more we have suburban white women.
Apparently there's this-
Like Trump.
Apparently there's
No,
this,
we're leading polls there.
Okay.
So
apparently there's a movement on like I don't know if it's Twitter or Instagram or something, but it's some group that says settle for Biden is like what they're called.
Love that group. I'm gonna get a T-shirt.
Really? I like just heard about this from Kyle Pilsky today.
It's great because it's like we're admitting that we don't love him. Like
no one loves him. I don't
Like-
love him.
yeah, it's very clear.
I don't know, bro. He seemed pretty stoked on Biden.
No, I just think he's going to win.
Oh,
Yeah, but you also probably think there's no chance in hell Trump's gonna win. Because you're like, he's gonna run away with it. I think you're like getting too excited.
You have to admit there's a chance.
Right at this point, I think there is no chance.
Wow.
But this point doesn't say this point for a 98.
That's what I'm saying.
So saying at this point is kind of stupid to be honest.
I'm saying if the election were held today, Biden is leading in the polls by 5+ points in every single battleground state there is.
Well, do you want
He's
to ask
also-
Trump to move the polls?
He's also
Back?
no, that's true.
Trump wants to cancel it.
Yeah, he wants to yeah.
Push him up instead of pushing him back.
He is also leading in Texas. GOP is
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna be
running
real.
around in circles in Texas right now.
I'm gonna be real. If Biden wins Texas, that is actually huge. If
Could be
Biden
a
wins
runaway.
Texas, yeah, that's basically game. If he gets Texas and like Wisconsin,
John Cornyn has
Yeah.
I don't
Tight
think he's gonna
Senate.
get Florida. They say he's ahead in Florida, but I don't think he's gonna get it.
I don't know. If they go all mail-in ballots.
I don't know. Do the freaking Democrats ever get Florida?
We haven't. I think Obama's first election was when he got Florida.
If there's one thing I learned about, I mean maybe, but if there's one thing I've learned about elections is you can't count on Florida for anything, bro.
Nope,
That's
you
true.
can never count on Florida for anything.
You just can't, bro. Plus now,
But I do think there is a lot of Democratic support in Florida right now. And
Yeah.
a lot of Democratic excitement in a lot of states. Specifically Florida and Wisconsin.
yeah, but now Alex lives in Florida, bro, and he's gonna vote Trump.
Okay.
Checkmate.
Trump wins by 1 vote.
Jesus, that'd be pretty funny. I hope that knucklehead actually votes. Although I imagine you hope he doesn't. But
I don't care if he's gonna.
I think everyone should vote.
If there's
Same.
a Trump supporter, then he's gonna vote for Trump. It's pretty.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
It's their right.
I never understand the attitudes of people who don't like people voting. Like my dad will be like, I'd ask you to get your friend to vote, but he's going to vote for the wrong team anyways, or something like that.
I think everyone should vote. I tell my Republican friends, "Did you go vote today?" Like in the last local election, I was like telling them to go vote, even though I knew they weren't going to vote.
Well, I just think that voting is the first step to having any sort of opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you're comfortable doing that, maybe you're comfortable having a conversation, and then the real work gets done.
Yeah.
For sure.
Participate in the democratic process.
What it's here for.
Yeah. Thank God. God bless America. All right. Let's wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
All right. Thanks for listening to episode 23. Thank you, Briggan, for joining us.
Hell, lots of fun.
Yeah, it was a very good episode. We'll see you for episode 24 in about a week.
Yeah. Are we doing a guest?
About 2 weeks, actually. No, a week. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, we'll probably line someone up. We can talk off screen. Yeah. Anyway, listen to all your favorite podcasting platforms, even on YouTube. Thank you.